Hey everybody, it's me, Remy the Comic Book Poser, and I'm here to welcome you to Enter the Poserverse. Read a lot of books last week. Figure instead of giving you 6 books that I deemed all picks of the week, from everything that I read this week, I've got for you my top 5 books that hopefully you didn't miss out on, and if you did, you're seeing this video in enough time before you go pick up new books from your LCS this week. So let's see what made the list. Coming in at number 5 this week was Dark Ark After the Flood, number 4. It's Cullen Bunn and Jesus Harabez on the art. That I like this story. I really enjoyed the original Dark Ark storyline where you are seeing evil Noah's Ark survive the flood and what happens with everybody as they make landfall. So in terms of looking at some of the art in the book, right, I think it's good. It's gripping. It's dark. I like the kind of mashup that Hervas and Wancho, the colorist, have in terms of what they've got going on in this book. I also like the new scary beasts that they find, like this big-ass frog that can jump out and attack people and eat someone whole. Is pretty cool to me. So I liked that book. There were a couple others that I liked better, but Dark Ark will always make my list because I think that's a good title. Coming in at number 4 this week, the much disputed Ludicrous, number 2. I like this book. I'm going to say a bunch of nice things about Kieran Gillen in my weekly pull list video. I'm aware that this book is not for everybody, but I like the big kind of over-the-top sarcastic humor. I like kind of what they are looking into and going to chase down in this. I'm intrigued in finding out what's going on between the professor and the king. I thought this was kind of a cool page of art in terms of like the innards of what the beast they are exploring, and then the king just yeets out of it, which I thought was kind of cool. And then the other thing that I really, really enjoy from this book, I love me a good, title and credits page, but I like the names that the new titles they've given themselves. So like Kieran Gillen is a literary disaster. Jim Rossignol is a further literary disaster. Tamara Bonvillain is a chromatic saint. I like that kind of wit and humor in the back of this book, and I think that's a good snapshot of just how weird and wild that book is. Like I said, I know that it's not for everyone, but if you want a good book that's some, fun, like linguistic and mental gymnastics, pick that up. Coming in at number 3 is The Man Who Effed Up Time, and I didn't realize until after I started recording this that I already taped my bag shut, and I'm too lazy to open it up and try and finagle the cover out. But I really like what's happening in this third book. This is a fun series. It's interesting to see what Sean Butterfly affects himself into next by each thing that he screws up in terms of history. We know that, King Abraham Lincoln the Fourth, who's supporting the new future that gets created by Sean, is some kind of distant threat that we have to deal with. But in this book, we figure out who may be chasing down Sean. But it's good if you want a good, fun pickup, and you want to see what Carl Mostert, who did Deceased Unkillables, can do on a lighter book. His art in that book is really, really good. Coming in at number 2 is Jeff Lemire's Family Tree. It's from Image. This is Family Tree number 6. It's Jeff Lemire, Phil Hester, Eric Gasper, and Ryan Cody on the book. This is interesting because we're seeing the beginning of the second arc, where we are now trying to figure out what role the grandfather may have in all of this story, and why exactly he may be hunted. We still don't have an explanation in the 6th book as to how the world has kind of been fully consumed in an arboreal apocalypse, but it's interesting nonetheless. I like that book. It's a story that I've not. It's a new take on a pandemic story that I've not seen. And coming in at my definitive book of the week, Shit Talk Holmes, Dying is Easy, number 5. This is Joe Hill and Martin Simmons. It's IDW. I really have enjoyed this book. That this is the last of the 5 books in this arc. That if you want some kind of good, sarcastic, gallows or sarcastic gallows humor in a detective story, then you want to pick this one up. So in the first couple of books of the series, we've learned that Sid Holmes is being framed for a murder, and it's him figuring out not just who killed his rival, but also who is framing him. And we finally get to see his kind of gotcha moment at the end of the detective tale in this. But each book has its kind of own big absurdity. So here's him struggling against somebody in like a mermaid themed nightclub, where you're seeing some of that stuff play its way out. I'm sad that this is the last book. I like seeing something that's not pee my pants terrifying from Joe Hill. And I know in tweeting out my review to the last book that he said that there's another plan for some more Sid Holmes stories in the future. So at least I'm not saying goodbye forever. It's we'll take a little bit more of a break. But those are my top 5 books of the week. I know that a lot of people were excited about Strange Adventures #2 and Death Metal coming out this week. But those 2 books didn't stick with me, and I think most of it is because I need to reread Strange Adventures, and I didn't read Metal, so Death Metal does not make a lot of sense in my head right now. So that's the reason why I'm not ranting and raving about those, because I haven't done my necessary homework to make those books sing better with me. So maybe when, the next title in each of those series comes out, I'll talk about, how wrong I was or how right I was in terms of whether or not I am or am not going to hop on that hype train. So, as always, thanks for stopping by. If you like my recommendations, hit that like button, give me a sub. We're getting closer each day to the giveaway of the variant cover of Dark Knight's Metal #1. So, yeah. I don't know how to end these videos. So I'm just going to mumble and then cut some shit out and say thanks for stopping by, and have a good one.